Leaving Kentucky. Late morning, Friday, September 5th, 1862. The freight railroad siding just north of Lexington, Kentucky. As the brakes bled off the excess steam once the train had halted, the billowing clouds of the white stuff partially blocked the cavalry horse depot that lay about 150 yards east of the siding. As the clouds of steam dissipated, Rob could clearly see the major and the quartermaster sergeant seated at their duty station, the table in front of the tent where he'd first met them. He wondered if that twosome had waylaid or tricked or deceived anyone else since he had been in their clutches. Silly question. Of course they had. It was the type of men they were. It was what they would do. Were they worse as people for trying to advance the cause of the South, merely because they wore the uniforms of the North? If so, what did that say about him? Rob wore whichever uniform suited his purpose at the moment. North, South, civilian, what did it matter? No, he would leave them alone. He would let bygones be bygones, as the saying went. If there were any debt to be settled, he was certain their paths would cross again. He did not know for certain about the two attackers that had nearly dealt him his death. Had their attack been ordered by one or both of these men? Rob would probably never know for sure. What he did know is that they had deliberately put him on a horse that was spooked by cannon fire, and they had given him a map and directions that would take him into the midst of the rebel camps, rather than overlooking them. Had he not relied on his own wits and experience, he would likely be in a Confederate prison camp right now, or worse. Here were two more people he would never forget, though he would like to. The conductor came through the car and announced that they would be leaving as soon as the engineer and fireman had seen to loading sufficient water and wood for the trip. He estimated no more than 20 minutes. Rob decided to stretch his legs and relieve himself while the opportunity presented itself. He left his cane and valise aboard when he climbed down onto the platform. He hurriedly took care of his business at the side building and did what he could not to limp noticeably. He did not want to become dependent on using a cane. As he rounded the privy barrier leading away from the men's public relief station, Rob heard a familiar voice with a nasal southern drawl to it.
"Well, Sergeant, we thought that was you lighting from the train. Lace your stripes, did you?"
taunted the sweetly wheedling voice of Sergeant Waters.
"And your big rifle, too,"
joined the equally syrupy Major Donovan. The two of them rushed him. Waters was taking his legs out while Donovan swung at his face. Rob's quick reflexive block kept Donovan's knife from carving out his right eye, but did not keep its point from digging painfully into his cheekbone. His left hand retrieved his boot knife by instinct, and that blade was plunged into the chest of his senior assailant. Rob's now free right hand drew his pistol and fired twice, at point-blank range, into the sergeant's face. As fast as that, it was over. The huge civilian stood over them with blood pumping from the hole in his right cheek. Other than that, and looking stunned, he seemed fine.
"Them two jumped him," called a civilian bystander. "He never had a choice. The big guy was just defending himself."
"That's so,"
joined a teamster from his seat atop his consignment load.
"I seen the whole thing."
So did I, added the conductor.
"I saw them follow him from the platform over to the relief station when he left the train, so I kept my eye on those two. Never saw anything like that before. He really handled those two. Why'd they want to do that, you suppose?"
"Darned if I know." Rob's words were garbled by the fact that he was holding a handkerchief to his cheek to help stop the considerable blood flow.
"I didn't do anything to them."
Because of the gunshots and the proximity to the city, a city policeman arrived shortly. Though all the witnesses' stories matched, the man was not satisfied that something more suspicious hadn't taken place, beyond the killing of two attackers by their intended victim. Rob staunchly denied knowing any reason why these two Union soldiers would want to molest him,